Hello, today is Monday,
The 24th.
May 24th. And this is the show where Vanessa and I come up with a way to have something to do together. And you might be enjoying the benefits of that. I don't know. Today we are going to talk about
Habits.
no, what are we going to get into first?
Oh, first we have our...
Oh, we're going to talk about a parenting thing. I won't reveal too much about that yet. And then marital scorekeeping, quality time with your family. We're going to talk about, I don't know how to explain the one that you, family mobilization.
Oh, yes.
Talk about that. We're going to talk about the most important communication principle. And then we're going to talk about how do you form habits and how do you make changes, both from like a physical health perspective and a mental health perspective. And then, really, it can fit into a lot of different things. So that's where we're going today. And we want to introduce a new segment where we have a sponsor. And we don't actually have a sponsor. I have considered doing like product placement behind us just to see if like maybe we could get somebody to sponsor us.
That's a great idea. I never thought of that.
Yeah. But
I could have brought ours down today. I have one.
Oh, no, I was talking about like go grab a bag of Cheetos and put it here.
Oh,
and maybe
no.
Cheetos will sponsor us.
That's weird.
But, okay.
We don't like Cheetos. I don't like Cheetos.
And I don't eat them anyways.
Okay.
Definitely just lost that sponsor. Anyways, they're not real sponsors, but we want to highlight some things that people around us do that are interesting or good, are worth pointing out. These are all going to be people who like would never be a sponsor on like the nightly news, and that's why we're pointing them out. Is because we think they're actually doing cool stuff. So our first one. Tell our viewers about our first sponsor.
Our first sponsor is Rooted by Meg. And if you don't know who runs Rooted by Meg, it is Megan Brown, our dear friend, and it's kind of her little side hustle. I think it was a hobby, but now it's kind of turning into like a little business. And she sells houseplants, and it's really cool because she decorates the pots herself. And I have a plant, and I don't know how to take care of plants, and she's always available to be like, this is what you need to do to keep it alive. And I'm not a plant person, but I'm kind of into plants now because of Megan. So you can find her at Rooted by Meg on Facebook and Rooted by Meg on Instagram.
All right, thank you, Rooted by Meg. Really appreciate your support. But seriously, if you know somebody who's doing good work and you want to honor them in just a very small way, let us know, and we'd be happy to share their stuff on here. All right, so our first question for you all. So this is, we'll come back to this here in a little bit, so think about this, but this is actually something that Vanessa's been asking this week a lot.
Mostly today.
A lot today.
Yeah. My question is, or our question is, why do parents assume the worst? And so I'm going to give you an example. Last night, Quinn went to bed at 7 o'clock. This morning, he did not wake up until 9:30. He typically wakes up around 6 and 7, and he did not. And I automatically assumed that something terrible had happened to him. And deep down I knew he was fine. I knew he was just tired and sleeping and catching up on sleep. But I assumed that something awful had happened, and I made Tyler go in and like check through the door to make sure he was still breathing. And it's like a genuine panicked feeling. Why do we do that?
Okay, and I think there's two parts to that. There's the experiential, why do humans have this innate response that assumes the worst? Mm-hmm. I'm also interested, does anybody out there know if there is like a scientific, psychological reason why humans do this? Is there maybe like a biological, evolutionary reason? There might be. I haven't ever researched that.
I'm also curious, is it more moms that feel that way than dads? Is it like in our DNA to like feel that panic that something has happened to our children?
All right.
So answer the question.
Y'all let us know. Type that in the comments, or feel free to even get a hold of us if you want to do it that way. But let's move on So we talk a little bit about parenting and marriage and our specific experience this week. So since the last time we talked, which was last Tuesday, so not even a week, this is something you brought up.
I did.
So how have you been experiencing marital scorekeeping?
I don't even know that it's marital scorekeeping. I think it's parenting scorekeeping. So, like when you first have a baby and you're just waking up like constantly in the middle of the night. I feel like we always struggled with, especially with Torin, because he was not a good sleeper. The next morning it was always like, who slept the worst? Or how many times did you get up? And then I would always say, well, I had to get up this many times. I got up more times than you did. Or, I'll be honest, on Sunday, taking Quinn to church is exhausting for me because it's just chasing him around the whole time. And for whatever reason, I was getting frustrated with him. And then in my mind, I'm telling myself, Tyler gets more free time than I do. Tyler gets to do whatever he wants more than I do. And I know that's not true. So,
It's true.
No, I think it's pretty even.
Okay.
If we're keeping score. We're not keeping score.
Keeping score.
My advice is don't let yourself get in the headspace of keeping score with your spouse when it comes to parenting, because you get resentful and then that just kind of like builds up and then you get angry and then you don't communicate well and you don't lay out your expectations. Do your best to not keep score and just have open communication from the start.
Okay. All right. My parenting family marriage experience is with quality time. And I'm actually going to pull in what's called relational dialectics theory, which is a communication theory about relationships, especially intimate relationships. And one of the dialectics, so it's the idea that we experience two different ends of an idea. And one of them is separation and intimacy. And the problem is when you're in a relationship with somebody, you feel like, and at least our culture gives us this expectation that you have to be the same person, right? Everything's brought together. And we desire that connection. Well, what tends to happen for some people, and some people more than others, is we also desire to still be our own self. And we desire privacy. Well, something that I'm not very good at as a parent or spouse is that I happen to desire a lot of privacy, of separation. So quality time for me feels like a chore. So this is not advice. This is not like a celebration. This is like, yeah, that's how I function. So if there's anybody out there who also struggles with that, you're not alone. I also think I need to get better at that, but there's also reasons why. Some people prefer more connection. Some people prefer more separation.
You have gotten much better at that.
Wonderful. Moving swiftly on. We're going to call this one Mobilizing the Family.
Oh.
So something interesting. So that was parenting and marriage. Now something interesting that we've thought about this week.
Yes.
There's this mobilizing the family.
So what I've noticed now that we have multiple activities multiple times a week, I feel like as the mom that I have to get all the stuff together. I have to get everybody in the car. I have to make sure we have our karate bags, 2 karate bags, our baseball bag, our t-ball bag, Quinn's diaper bag. And so I think it was Saturday morning we were going to karate and we had like gathered up all the things. And I finally get in the car. I'm the last person to get in the car. And nobody grabbed the freaking keys. Like, I was mad at you. I said, you can't even grab the keys. And it wasn't even about the keys. It was about me feeling like I'm responsible for everything and making sure everybody has their stuff.
We're being visited by
making sure everybody has their stuff and nobody forgets anything. And so I said, I'm done doing that. You have to make sure that you have your karate stuff and you have to make sure that you have your baseball uniform. And if you forget it, that's on you, because I cannot handle making sure I have everybody's things. I don't want to do that anymore. And I will keep getting Quinn's things, but if you're 5 and up, you're on your own. Which I think we should be doing anyways. Like, it's teaching them responsibility. It's teaching them not to expect that I'm just going to do it for them. So I think it's a good thing. I'm just saying maybe start that sooner rather than later.
Yeah. All right, my interesting thought of the week deals with communication, and it's something that I've just seen with some interactions I've specifically had or things I've heard from people that they're kind of mourning about or sad about. So there's 5 principles of communication. And one of them, which I think is the most important, is that communication is irreversible. And there's a lot of reasons for why this is the case. A lot of people think about the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. This principle actually goes like, no, words can hurt you, because once something's spoken or communicated, it's now there. There's a whole field called phenomenology that probably not okay. We're not interested in, but there's reasons why this is the case. But you have to be aware that anytime you communicate, anytime you say something, also communication is more than just verbal things. It's permanent, and it exists, and that's information that we have to work with. What I've noticed this week is there's been situations where people haven't been as intentional or thoughtful before they said something that was going to have effects on relationship. So that's something everybody knows, right? Like words can hurt, all that. Well, there's, again, a reason why. It's because communication is irreversible. Now, on to the main part of what we're doing here today, which is how do habits form? So this is something that you interact with a lot with health and wellness clients. And last week we brought up change, the basic pattern of how change works. So how do habits form?
So I'm going to talk about habits in reference to exercise, because it's kind of my thing. And so I think when you want to start a habit of, let's just call it movement, moving your body, I think the first thing you have to do is decide why you want to do it. So for me personally, I want to be as physically fit as possible. It's not like like I don't want to look a certain way. That's not my goal. My goal is to be as physically fit as possible and to be stronger than you. That's my side goal. Just kidding. Yep. And then the next thing I think you have to do is decide what kind of movement you enjoy, because what I enjoy might not be what you enjoy. And I don't think you have to do like this intense exercise all the time. And if you're going to hate it, you're not going to stick with it. So you have to find something that you enjoy. So if that's walking, or it's gardening, or cleaning your house, or whatever. I always say movement is movement. It doesn't have to be lifting weights all the time. So find something that you really enjoy, so you're going to stick with it. Take a look at my notes so I don't forget.
But you're talking about this from the movement's an example, right?
Yeah.
How do you form habits? If your goal is fitness, then movement is important to that goal. So how do you create those habits? You're saying the first thing is you have to know why you want to do what you do.
Yeah.
And then you have to know what you want to do.
Yeah, because the next thing is you have to find a time that is like a non-negotiable time to get that movement in. So for me, it's the morning, because I know if everybody's awake, I'm not going to get it in, because my house is going to be crazy. And so you have to find a time in your schedule where you know that you're going to have time for it, and you know that you're going to stick with it.
Real quick, I think we can move this camera just a little bit this way over to here, and Vanessa wants to be stronger than me. We could see who could do more pull-ups right now.
I mean, we could show our muscles right now.
It would have to be by the demand of the audience.
We could show our muscles right now and compare. The last thing is, I think it's important to keep in mind that it takes 21 days to form a new habit. So if you're like day 3 and you're like, this is not fun, I don't want to do it, I don't want to stick with it, know that those feelings are normal. And sometimes you just have to push through and know that at the end of those, the end of the month or the end of the 21 days, you're going to have this new habit, hopefully, that is improving your quality of life.
I don't know if you use day 3 intentionally, but day 3
is the hardest.
Always kind of talked about as the hardest part of forming a habit.
Yes.
And not specifically with exercise.
No, it could be with anything.
But that's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, okay, so knowing why you want to do this, and then creating a dedicated space and time in order to do that. Which that's something that came up last week, is how do you make a change if you're very busy? Well, you got to stop being as busy in order to do that. But here's something that needs to be said: is it's almost not fair to call this, how to form habits, as if there's a possibility that you're not forming a habit, because you're always forming a habit.
Sure.
Every time you do something, that's a step towards habit formation.
Yeah, good or bad.
Right. So all of the things that you do throughout a day, if they're consistent enough, they're actually formed into habits. And there's this whole thing with your myelin sheath, which is like the coating on your neurons. Every time you do a behavior or an action, that actually gets stronger because it helps pass the signal faster. And so literally every time you do something, it's making it easier to do it again the next time. So if you fail to exercise, if that's your example, for 21 days, you just created a habit of not exercising.
Right.
Or if you have created a dedicated space and time where you sit and eat Krispy Kreme donuts, because that happens sometimes. That's actually forming a habit. So it's not that you have to somehow figure out the information for how to form habits. You're already forming them. It's whether or not you're going to do it intentionally.
Right.
There are some categories that actually explain how to form habits, and this deals with a lot of the change conversation. And I will just list them off instead of
we're over
describing everything. The first is you got to create triggers. So this is like you've decided why you want to do something and what you want to do. You've created some space and time where you're going to do that. Now what else do you need to add in order to kind of take this from an idea to an actual changed behavior? So the first thing is you need triggers. You need something that is, it's going to happen external of you to cause you to do this thing. So you want to wake up and exercise, set an alarm. That's a trigger, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
That makes sense.
Next one is rewards, which kind of seems weak. We've told ourselves, you don't want rewards, right? Don't do it for the wrong reasons. No, you have to trick yourself. Creating habits is all about tricking yourself because your body is going to naturally resist all this stuff. So create rewards.
I have all my clients have rewards.
Preferably they're rewards that are natural extensions of the thing that you did.
Right.
So if you're trying to lose weight, let's say, and your reward is that if you exercise every day that week, you get to eat an entire red velvet cake. These are like all things on my mind, Freudian slips. Then that's actually going against your goal. You have to be careful with your rewards. Mm-hmm. Another thing that you have to do is you have to have some sort of motivating concept, something that helps you anticipate wanting to do this. And that's attached to having a why. I don't know if anybody saw, there was a video that went viral around Christmas time of the grandfather who was working out.
Oh, yeah, that was a great video.
And he kept like doing this one singular move. Mm-hmm. And then you don't know what he's doing. And then it was also that he could pick up his granddaughter to put the angel or star on the Christmas tree.
Very well done.
Yeah. But that's motivation and anticipation. That's having something that's compelling you to do it. The fourth one is social cohesion. And maybe another way to use this is social influence. The best way that you see this happen is you tell somebody what your goal is. And now you have accountability with somebody that you don't want to let them down, so you do the thing. And then the last two, the one is start small. So the example I use with this habit is if you go, I want to floss my teeth, well, just floss one tooth. Start there. And it doesn't actually accomplish anything, but it builds the habit. So the idea is that you have to create momentum. So you have to create wins.
Okay.
Right? Or there's another one that I've heard used where I want to exercise. And so instead of going, I'm going to exercise for an hour, 5 days a week, it's go to the gym for 5 minutes. And then you don't have to lift anything and then leave. And then the next week make it 10 minutes. And you just keep building that. So you don't want to start huge. You want to start with very small steps to help build the habit. And then the last one is invest, like literally put money into it. I'll say this, like one of the reasons that if you want to make certain changes, and you should get a coach because you have to pay for it. And now you've got money invested into it. Or you buy something, or bet with somebody. That's actually a way to actually help promote the habit. So those are all things there with habits. So at this point, the conversation is done. If you all have any questions for us or comments, feel free to bring them in. If you're watching this on Instagram or YouTube later, you can feel free to contact either one of us if you have questions or something like, hey, you actually got that wrong, you shouldn't be saying that, or whatever. You can let us know, and we'd be happy to recant on any of those statements. Or if you just want to add something, want to say hello, feel free to keep sending those. But for anybody who's watching right now, we have a question here. So this is from Lisa.
Oh, there's multiple things.
Lisa said, what if you don't have time to slowly change a habit? What if it's a matter of health, either physical or mental? That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
The only way that I've actually seen this, Lisa, is with substance abuse, where people that I knew were told, if you don't stop this in this amount of time, you're going to die, right? So that's the only example I have of it. So the only thing I'd say is those suggestions for habits are suggestions. Not everybody's going to be able to go with small steps. Not everybody's
go through the whole process.
Not everybody's going to be able to invest. Not everybody's going to be able to create triggers that are going to help, or rewards. Sometimes you don't have all of them, and especially in like a dire situation, that's actually your motivation and anticipation one. So the one that's going to compel you to do it. For somebody who's addicted to a substance to go, well, I'm going to die. Now you have that habit forming behavior. You might not have some of the other ones, and that's okay. So that's really the only thing I would say to that, is just those are suggestions. Those aren't things that you have to have them all covered. But the more you can use, the better it'll be. You want to add anything to that question?
that was a good answer.
Okay. Johnny said, from last week, did you figure out a date night?
I don't think we talked about it one time after we did the video.
No.
So the answer
Nobody
is
gave us good enough ideas.
I don't even know when we would fit that into our life right now.
No.
Which maybe that's the problem.
We watched a show together.
We did. We watched Outlander together.
God, I was trying to think. I was talking to somebody at Torrance baseball game, and I was like, we watched this show. I couldn't think of the name. They're like, oh, you must really like the show.
Outlander.
It's a fine.
Yeah, it's good.
But no, we that's about as far as we got with that.
Yep.
Well, our question remains, what's going on with parents who assume the worst? And I saw Amy had said the same thing, not just from a parenting perspective, but just from a spouse perspective or a partner perspective. Yeah, it can happen with any relationship.
Oh,
and
she's referencing the responsibility.
Oh, not the. I read the wrong thing then. But no, that's actually.
Your mom.
That's actually a thing that can happen with any relationship. Is you assume the worst, and you do that with me all the time. If I don't answer my
gosh,
phone,
yes,
you assume the worst there.
Yes.
So.
Sorry, Ben Taylor, for always calling you Friday nights. Little shout out there.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close down this episode 2. It's over. I'm going to close this down now and continue to communicate with us if you didn't get a chance to say something or you're watching this later. Otherwise, we hope to be doing another episode here in about a week. And if you have any thoughts on what you'd like to hear us talk about, feel free to shoot us.
Or if you want to be sponsored.
Or if you want to be a sponsor, or you know somebody who should.
Oh, we have another one.
How we compliment each other. I don't. I don't know what to say.
have something to say. I think we were in such a bad spot for a long time. And you personally, or you specifically, have changed so much since then. I feel like I always need to be grateful, and I always feel like I need to like affirm that you've really like been intentional and progressed, and because
I'm going to end with this.
Okay, go ahead.
Something that I've been thinking about, probably going to end up being an article or something soon, is there is one thing that every human being needs that conveniently every other human being can offer, and that's reassurance. The biggest thing that every single human being needs is to feel affirmed, to be seen that, you know, they fail and yet it's still okay, they're still human. We all crave that, and you know what? We also all happen to be able to give that to each other. And so I think that's something that we've picked up on the longer we've gone and the more that we've messed up and had difficulty in things. All right. So we'll see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. See ya.
Hi. Hi, buddy. It's all good. We won't.